Okay, back with another magazine review. This time checking out Elemental magazine, published by the Wright brothers, Adam and Matt Wright. Between 1998 and 2006, they put out 80 issues. This is a look at their first copy right here. Their magazine was very forward-thinking with design. It was a design-heavy magazine. That's why I always loved it, and it was hip-hop. So there's two parts to it. It was always really forward-thinking. They never did the same thing twice. It was always moving forward, but with the same design principles in mind. And what I really loved about their magazine was the use of negative space, which we'll get into there in a minute. But shout out Josh Moore, who photographed the boot camp click there on the left. He was the first person I ever photo assisted in New York City. Got a lot of good experience working with him. Photo assisting is super important, and so is getting your work published in magazines, and that's sort of the point of all this. I never got my work published in Elemental magazine, unfortunately, but I did get my face on the cover of a Visionaries album cover for submitting to this competition that they had. So that was kind of interesting to remember doing that from all those years ago. But getting your work published in magazines has always been really important. And these photographers' work translated to a bigger picture. Here's some use of the negative space. These are some photos by Adam Amengual, whose work I've always really liked, and I love Boot Camp Click, and I really like these photos. So I thought I would highlight these pictures and just give Adam Amengual a shout out, who's still active today and taking amazing photos. And the reason I point that out is that these magazines were the springboard for professional photographers, and rarely did these magazines pay. Here's another cover Adam had. And if you go to his website today, you're not going to see any of these photos. And it's no disrespect to the magazine. They're old. There's Vince Carter there before the AI. Can you imagine setting that shot up? Crazy. But the point is that back in these days, you had to get your work published in order to get in front of people. It added legitimacy to your work. Here's some more negative space that they always used. And just a shout out to Adam Amengual for having his clients sitting down comfortably, or subjects, if you will. Here's some of his commercial work where he always has people sitting down in a nice way. And might seem like a small thing, but to the trained eye, it goes a long way. You know what I mean? Like, if that's a signature pose you have or something you can do really well, and that's what your client is looking for, that works. And Adam has a lot of experience showing you how he has people sitting down comfortably. So getting your work published always matters. Just a shout out to Richie Scene, one of my favorite artists. He really inspired me from the get-go to just do the same thing over and over and over. His tag looks the same 100% of the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's his thumbprint. So shout out Richie Scene. I saw this in the book and just reminded me of him. Big inspiration. The godfather of graffiti, Richie Scene. Just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. Repeat, rinse, and lather. Pay off. Promise. Look at Richie Scene. He's a great example of that. Shout out Adam Amengual. Link in the bio for more work from him. This is another artist I wanted to feature and give a shout out to, Gregg Delman, who is still an active photographer working in New York City and used smaller magazines like Elemental to work with artists to create a body of work that ultimately built up a bigger body of work. That was the point. I mean, look at this awesome picture of LP. LP's, touring the world with Killer Mike, and they're doing big things. But back then, he was still an independent artist. And Gregg Delman was able to connect with him in Elemental magazine, and then from there, keep going. The whole point is just to keep building, keep shooting, and using these magazines. No matter what the budget is, you get to show your talent, your skill. You get to work with different people and build a community. And Gregg Delman was able to highlight his work here, get his work out there, and build a portfolio so you could build a client base. And his work ultimately went on to attract bigger clients, and see some examples here at the end where this editorial work translated to commercial work. Indie publications like Elemental gave photographers like Gregg Delman a chance to innovate and experiment and be creative. And that ultimately was a double-sided payoff. The magazine got great photos, and the photographer was able to showcase his work to a bigger client base.